Now, a break in the case of a woman found shot to death inside a car in a canal. A 17-year-old boy is now in custody, and investigators say this was not a random crime. Local 10's Christina Vasquez is live with the details.
And investigators saying it was really a collection of evidence that led them to identify that the adult victims in this case, teen boyfriend, is the person they say pulled the trigger.
So this sister was rocking the cradle, man. She was robbing the cradle, man. We find out, man. She was robbing the cradle, man. What's going on, man? Her teen boyfriend killed her.
Investigators say 17-year-old Jacoby Jacint lied about where he was when his girlfriend was shot. Now he's facing charges for killing her. It was a stunning discovery. A white Chevrolet Camaro plunges into a Pompano Beach canal early Wednesday morning. Inside, a 5-month-old. Saved by a Good Samaritan, deputies say, the baby girl unharmed. But her godmother, 22-year-old Jasmine Brayboy, pulled to the shore by a BSO deputy, is found to have a gunshot wound.
For this to be a quote-unquote racist country, man, why would they even send, like, the aqua team out there to swim through this marine plant life and swamp and alligators and mud to try to find a sunwoman? Because, you know, it's racist. They don't care about us, man. George Bush don't care about some people. And shout out to the Good Samaritan that saved the 5-year-old. That makes me happy, man. I'm so happy that 5-year-old, that 5-month-old. Because that 5-month-old was probably strapped into a seat. I mean, it couldn't do anything anyway, but just sad, man, when so many little kids get killed in the stand violently. And no one in the NBA or NFL, politicians, no one has anything to say about it. But she left her baby with the godmother at 5 months. Lord Jesus. And the godmother's teenage boyfriend killed her and, I guess, rolled the car into a swamp in an attempt, obviously, well, I don't even know if they think like that, because he might have just been like, he might even didn't even care. Like, you have to understand one thing about these son, they don't even care, man. So he might not even been thinking like, well, the baby's going to die if I roll the car into the swamp. He probably didn't even care. He probably didn't think about it like that. Like, it's just a baby. So what? The baby died. Like, they savage with it, man. They call themselves super gremlins now, man. And demons. That's what they call themselves. So imagine if gliders come up with a name for them. If they call themselves demons and super gremlins, what if racist gliders come up with a name for them? What would that name be? Like, anyway, yeah, sisters, man, you can't be leaving your kids with the godparents, man, in 2022, man.
Investigators say 17-year-old Jacoby Jacint lied about where he was when his girlfriend was shot. Now he's facing charges for killing her. It was a stunning discovery. A white Chevrolet Camaro plunges into a Pompano Beach canal early Wednesday morning. Inside, a 5-month-old. Saved by a Good Samaritan, deputies say, the baby girl unharmed. But her godmother, 22-year-old Jasmine Brayboy, pulled to the shore by a BSO deputy, is found to have a gunshot wound.
The adult female had been shot. So at that point, homicide detectives, crime scene detectives, as well as members of our dive team responded to the scene.
The deputy and paramedics try to save her life.
Started CPR.
She's rushed to Broward Health North, pronounced dead at the hospital. Homicide detectives tracking down evidence from cell phone records, surveillance video, and interviews identify her teen boyfriend, 5 years her junior, as the suspected killer.
Her teen boyfriend, 5 years her junior, identified as the suspected killer. Yeesh. I mean, I don't know what to say, man. I'm just glad that that baby didn't lose its life because of this 22-year-old woman wanting to date a Sun team, man. And wanting to be somebody's godmother and wanting to babysit. This is who your kids is around when you leave them with these sisters, man. That might not be who pick them up. But somewhere in the course of the day, she around these type characters, man. Now you got 20, 30 people standing around a swamp. And luckily, a good Samaritan rescued your baby, man. What a strange group of people, man.
Detectives tracking down evidence from cell phone records, surveillance video, and interviews identify her teen boyfriend, 5 years her junior, as the suspected killer. He's now facing a count of premeditated murder, committing a first-degree felony with a firearm, and child neglect for placing an infant in danger when the victim's vehicle went into a canal. And they say he's now being held at the Broward Juvenile Detention Center. As for that baby girl, they say she was reunited with her mother. Reporting live for you tonight, I'm Christina Vasquez, Local 10 News.
More outrage over lax sentencing when it comes to violent criminals. This after a 15-year-old arrested for randomly killing a St. Paul woman who was just driving down the road.
Now, this is the area where they were just protesting because of criminal or a guy who was sleeping with a gun by his side in a house full of murderers was killed during a no-knock raid because he pulled the gun on police officers. What's more egregious, a woman being randomly killed while driving down the road? Or the situation I just said to you. Which one would deserve, like, the entire city and community and neighboring cities and even spark protests in Portland that led to the death of people in Portland? People in Portland died over this case of this kid who was killed during this no-knock warrant after he pulled a gun on police officers. But no one will even think the thought, it won't even cross their mind to protest for this woman who was killed, most likely by a Sun team, at random.
Rage over lax sentencing when it comes to violent criminals. This after a 15-year-old arrested for randomly killing a St. Paul woman who was just driving down the road.
Fox 9's Karen Scullin joining us now with more on the victim, Julia Lee, and the young suspect with a lengthy criminal history. Karen.
15-year-old has a lengthy criminal record. And I be trying to tell y'all, man, a lot of y'all don't understand, man. All that it becomes, you can't even see those records once they turn 18. So once if this kid was still on the street and he turns 18, he's 15 now. So he's 3 more years of this behavior. When he turns 18, you can't even look that stuff up. You can only see his adult record, what he compiles from that point on. And there's so many of them running around the streets. They've been arrested 40, 50 times. But because they're juveniles, they keep getting released to their parents. Because they really don't have, the juvenile system really doesn't, they can't do anything with them. The juvenile system in America is broken.
The victim, Julia Lee, and the young suspect with a lengthy criminal history. Karen. Julia Lee was 35. She was a 34-year-old woman, rather, with an extremely bright future. Her life taken allegedly by a 15-year-old who many say should have been behind bars.
Julia was beloved by everyone that knew her.
Originally from Kazakhstan, but she fell in love with the Twin Cities while in school, and she and her husband moved here.
She had really an energetic smile, a can-do spirit.
1 week ago today, Lee was shot and killed just while driving down the street in the Payne-Phelan neighborhood.
It's shocking. It's upsetting. It makes you angry. It makes you angry that our government officials are not doing more to make certain that criminals like this aren't taken care of.
Yeah, Jim Owens. Where were you the last 2 years, man, when they were demanding this? When people were like, no. And they were like, we demand this. And people were like, no. They were rioted and burned things. And said, people were like, no, we ain't going to give you this. You don't know what you're getting into, man. You don't want this. They rioted, burned, and rioted, and voted, and did all type of nefarious, underhanded things until they finally said, okay, you can have it. And now you got it, Jim.
It's shocking. It's upsetting. It makes you angry. It makes you angry that our government officials are not doing more to make certain that criminals like this aren't taken care of.
And many would agree with him. At just 15 years old, the suspect in Lee's case has a stunning criminal history. For starters, he was given just a 41-month stayed sentence in September for his role in an aggravated robbery where victims were held at gunpoint. One victim was shot. He was serving probation for that crime when Julia Lee was shot and killed. But according to sources, there's a lot more.
So, 41-month sentence, stayed. So basically, we sent you to 41 months, but we're gonna put you on probation. You can do it. You can do it on the street, man. You do it probation. 41 months of probation, man. For holding people at gunpoint and shooting somebody in a robbery. And this is everywhere you go. Listen. When you see some little son teens walking around looking, menacing and like oh my God, like you just can feel the trouble and the tingling in your spine. They all got mad charges, man. Let me tell you something, man. I've been there, man. All got a lot of charges, man. All right? Y'all been arrested. Parents know what's going on. Everybody knows what's going on.
But according to sources, there's a lot more. January 2021, he was involved in another carjacking. June 2020, a victim was carjacked at gunpoint. The juvenile suspect given 180 days probation. October.
You got 180 days probation. June 2020. This is how. Let me show you how the system used to work, because it's always friendly to juveniles, but back in the day, what would have happened is he would have done the carjacking in June of 2020 and got the 180 days probation. And obviously he completes that by July, August, September, at least by the latest of 2020. So he's off probation. I get that. However, the January carjacking in 2021, the judge would have gave him some time for that. Okay? He would have got some time for that. And then the robbery later in 2021, where he had the people at gunpoint, that would have been, he would have got some serious time for that. If he hadn't still been in juvie for the 2021 carjacking. I know it's a lot that I said this, but those of you that follow me, salute. Yeah. Now, how it works is each time you go in front of the judge, one of these Sun teens, just like they got that little Men in Black thing. They just, doop, and the judge, everything's just from the past is just wiped out. It's literally like that. It's literally like that now. And that's what these pasty liberals and these sisters asked for. They demanded it. They demanded this, okay? And now you have it.
January 2021, he was involved in another carjacking. June 2020, a victim was carjacked at gunpoint. The juvenile suspect given 180 days probation. October 2019, at 12 or 13 years old, he was arrested for fighting. He has also been involved or suspected in a burglary, aggravated robbery, discharging a weapon. At 14, he was caught driving and in possession of a half bar of Xanax. He's also currently a suspect in an active investigation from December, where 2 people were shot and injured.
All of us are a little scared. There's carjackings, and carjackers then become random murderers.
St. Paul Police Chief Todd Axtell released this statement. Sadly, this is yet another example of how our system has failed to put victims first, failed to help a young person going down a dangerous and destructive path, and failed our entire community. And speaking to Julia Lee's murder, he went on to say, this tragedy was entirely preventable. The suspect in Julia Lee's murder is expected to be charged as an adult sometime next week.
They're charging him as an adult at 15. So now they're going to try to get tough after he did all of that. After he did all that, I mean, and listen, this is Daunte Wright. It's the same thing. Similar, very similar to Daunte Wright, man. The case we covered on the live stream a couple of weeks ago. Daunte Wright, the kid out of Minnesota who was killed by Officer Kim Potter. Just a straight goon walking the streets with a rap sheet longer than the CVS receipt, but living as if, like, he has no worries. He's not afraid of anything. Like it's a video game, living life like a video game with this behind him. And it's like, wow, you would think that like he'd be scared to reoffend because maybe the judge would. These guys don't care, man. They have no reason to care. Thanks to sisters and pasty liberals who demanded this. And you sisters, if you get in my comment section talking about some, why are you blaming us? Well, it's a documentary going on right now talking about all this stuff is stereotypes. A documentary about one of y'all right now talking about all this stuff is stereotypes. And people just, being racist. So if you're assisting, you get in my comment section and try to read me or tell me off for blaming this stuff on y'all partially, I'm going to block you into infinity. Infinity block you. You're just going to fall into a black hole. I'm going to block you so hard.
Person going down a dangerous and destructive path and failed our entire community. And speaking to Julia Lee's murder, he went on to say, this tragedy was entirely preventable. The suspect in Julia Lee's murder is expected to be charged as an adult sometime next week. He's currently in jail for Lee's murder and for other unrelated crimes as well.